And we're hopefully live.
Hello, can everybody hear us? Please let us know if you can hear this.
Hello, Venture Satanis.
All right, well, Denver jumped ahead of me there, but all right. This is the RPG Pundit, the final boss, and I'm here with Venture Satanis and Florida Man RPG as usual. Hope you guys are able to hear me out there.
They can. We have confirmation from the chat.
Very good, very good.
I didn't know what else to say, so I just said my name.
That's okay. That works. You can see how together we are in all this, right? Venture shows up at the last second. Job's got to get this thing running. And on top of that, some of us don't even remember people that we've interviewed on this show. I saw in the comments, some of the people were commenting on this. Venture recently sent a post throughout all of his social media saying, hey, this guy Nick Beardia did a video about me. Does anyone know who this is? And I'm like, dude, he was on this show just a few months ago. We interviewed him. You were there.
He was? I was?
Yes.
I know, dude. I know, dude.
All right.
I know. It was a rhetorical device or whatever. I was just trying to get some engagement going and have people oh yeah, I know who Nick Beardia is, blah 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 blah, and then they start commenting and the algorithm and whatever else. That's all.
Sure, that sounds right. Yeah.
Plus the whole alternate universe thing. I mean that flies, right? That's the thing.
So, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's shown up. Now we've got 30 people watching now. That's good. I especially want to thank the tendency of nerds not to be into football, because apparently we've scheduled this at the same time as the Super Bowl. But it doesn't seem to have hurt our numbers very much, so that's good. And today we're going to be talking about a few different things. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the ongoing efforts of Wizards of the Coast to just literally ram itself into the ground, right? To just completely ruin itself as a brand.
Whoa. Slow down. Before we get started, first off, I'm going to crow my cock my crow. I don't know what the hell. Well, we got a new look for the show. We got a new shit going on here, people. So I threatened to update the show for the 2023. So it's a month late, but I got it done. So we'll make some improvements to it. And also we part of updating it is I think we just got a subscriber, but it was a different thing. So it was Ivan something. I don't know. If you just subscribed, say something in the chat and we will call you out, because that's what we do when we get a new sub. Okay.
There we go.
Back to Venture. I mean Pundit.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking about Wizards, and we're potentially going to be talking a bit about Valentine's Day, because it's 2 days away. Remember that. So a few people commenting already. Quite a few people saying F the NFL. And Judd Goswick says, you don't have to hate football to not care about the Chiefs versus the Eagles. I like that. So there we are.
They just shouted out. It was Ivan Richmond. But now I forgot that someone else just subbed, and I forgot his name already too. I got to get my notepad out. What the hell am I doing?
What? I know Ivan personally because he was at VentureCon last summer. So we had a lot of good conversations, and we played in. He played one of my games for a little bit, and yeah, he's a cool guy. He's from California, but he's not like a super progressive woke guy. So he's cool.
Oh yeah, and our second sub is Mac. So Mac, welcome to the channel. Welcome.
So Job, you might need to make the new subscriber thing linger a little longer if you can do that for the next show, because otherwise we're gonna miss them.
yeah, I'll have to do that.
That's trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the topic, right? The title of the show is OGL Fiasco Continues, and it kind of does, obviously, because you all know what's been going on over the last month with with Wizards of the Coast having at first announced that they were going to kill the original OGL, and we're going to make a new OGL that would end up charging people royalties and allowing them to have a morality clause where they could just, forbid you from publishing stuff if they felt offended and they didn't have to define what it was. And they would, have basically the right to publish anything you made without giving you any money. And everybody, like literally everybody, rebelled against this. They tried then to put out a new version of that. They claimed that the first one was always just a rough draft, which was complete bullshit. We know that because it got to Kickstarter. And then when people still didn't take their side, they also claimed that, well, we have to make these changes because there's people writing hateful content, and nobody bought that, right? So finally, they went ahead and said, okay, you know what? Screw it. We're keeping the OGL. We're making all of 5th edition into a Creative Commons license. We're going completely back on everything we were doing before. And of course, by then, there were tons of people that said that they were just leaving D&D, WotC D&D, and we're not coming back. And also, I don't know if you guys saw this. There's I forget where it was, if it was Forbes or there was an article that they interviewed a whole bunch of different gaming companies, Paizo and Troll Lords and Black Flag and Chaosium. And all of them have reported that in this past month, they've had like more sales than they've had in years. They just everybody went out and bought competitors' products. And, my sales were pretty good. I'm guessing a lot of OSR sales were pretty good. My views were really good in these videos, I got to say, on my channel. So it was quite the thing. And they were very damaged. But now part 2 of that is that they decided, okay, well, we have to do some kind of a publicity goodwill tour. And they got Kyle Brink. Now, Kyle Brink, his official title, which is a stupid title for a game design company, is executive producer at Wizards of the Coast. And what that means is he's actually the 2nd highest ranked person after Cynthia Williams in Wizards. And he's also the top guy in charge of D&D. Right, like Cynthia is in charge of everything. There's somebody in charge of Magic the Gathering. There's some other people in charge of technical stuff, but Kyle Brinks is in charge of D&D. And so he decided to go out and start trying to do this kind of goodwill tour of interviews with a bunch of YouTube channels that have very few subscribers, which is quite interesting. Except the last one he did is actually a high subscriber channel, but they're all clearly channels that had a vested interest in getting that guy on there and of playing ball, because I'm sure that what they were promised is that if they do an interview and it's, and it's friendly to Wizards, they're going to get, benefits. They're going to keep getting an ongoing relationship with Wizards of the Coast. And if you've got a channel that has, like, the first one that they did was with this channel called 3 Black Halflings, which has like 1,300 subscribers. They're barely enough subscribers to be monetized. And, that was obviously a huge deal for these people to have, the second in command of Wizards doing an interview with them. So it was meant to be something where they would have softball questions. Now, ironically, their very first interview, like the other channels that they've gone to, have been very softball from what I've seen, and they're just, it was not impressive at all. But 3 Black Halflings clearly were chosen because it's, the presenters there are people of color, as we say, and because they were trying to get the woke crowd back on board. Ironically, 3 Black Halflings asked them a lot of tough questions. I was very impressed with the type of questions that they asked Brink, and he was clearly very nervous, and a lot of his answers, they were very clearly inadequate answers to some of the questions that they asked, about, he refused to cover the rough draft thing. He claimed that they were always planning to do a new version of that OGL 1.1, that was never the final version, but he didn't explain why it was leaked by Kickstarter as having been the one that they gave him with the contract, right? So all of that was a big deal. But then he he went on at a point where they asked him a question about the lack of diversity in Wizards of the Coast, and he started by talking about, oh no, we want to hire, I want to mentor or something like that. I don't think he used that word exactly, but it was along those lines. You know, I'm trying to encourage people of color who are working in Wizards of the Coast, and you know, they're really important and all this. And then he went on to just start generally talking about the changing demographics in D&D. He claimed that white players are now a minority. There's no evidence of that, and there's a lot of, you know, kind of anecdotal evidence to the contrary. You look at pictures of any gaming con, and you see that the vast majority of people there are still Caucasian, you know, or Caucasian seeming anyway. You know, some of them could be Latinos, I guess. But then he went on to say, and this is I'm using the direct quote here. He says, "There's been mistakes made in years past where people assumed that D&D players were all, you know, white dudes in a basement, which has been a faulty assumption for a lot of years and gets more and more false every day. And so in my viewpoint, honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough for this hobby." And, you know, the funny thing is, after the fact, the interviewers, they said, well, you know, we interpreted that as meaning, you know, a lot of the people doing cover for Wizards are saying, no, he didn't mean all white people should leave the hobby. He was talking about the staff at Wizards of the Coast, right? And so they interpreted it as that. But if you look at the original interview, look at the faces of the interviewers while Kyle Brink is saying this, while he's saying, you know, white people can't leave soon enough, you know, and they're just both looking at him like, what is this idiot saying? You know, like it was obvious to me that he was, you know, the excuse that you could say is that Kyle Brink is an idiot and he's desperate to please. And this was like, a moment, a scene from The Office, you know, where the guy's just so he gets so caught up in wanting to placate the interviewers in what he imagines they want to hear, that he says, you know, oh, guys like me should be fired, you know, or something like that, you know, like in order to make room for people of color, you know, and they're just like looking at him like, you're an idiot, dude, you know. And of course, this has caused yet another huge scandal for Wizards. You look at the Wizards D&D Twitter, the Wizards Twitter, the Hasbro Twitter, the D&D Beyond Twitter. They can no longer post anything without people in the comments saying, when are you going to address what Kyle Brink said? You know, so this has been quite a scandal, and we're going to talk all about it. Anyways, I've done the introduction, so I want to know if Benja or Joe have anything more to say about the topic before we get to some of the comments from the Peanut Gallery and some of my own insights that I haven't yet mentioned in my video. I did a video about this already, so you can check that out on the RPG Pundit channel. But anyway, Joe, Benja, any comments to add so far?
I can't believe that Black Halfling is getting away with doing orc face in this day and time. It's pretty disappointing.
Do we have a delete button on this stream? What the fuck was that?
No one's chats make sense today. I think everyone's drunk watching the Super Bowl. And Raging has been going on and on about barbarian pies or something. A lot of people think
it's halftime right now. So a bunch of them are like, a bunch of our viewers are very clearly already deeply drunk. I don't know if that's because the game is going well or badly, but the comments are going to be really special today, I think.
That's right. If you want to comment and you're totally wasted, please comment away, and we may read it online. But I do have a little something to say, hopefully without being too redundant to what you said earlier. And that's it. Context matters. And if we weren't living in corporate wokeism and we hadn't dealt with just, maybe you can specify the timeline, but I'm thinking like 7 or 8 years ago when Pundit and I and a bunch of us were on G Plus, and we were constantly taking.
I was on G Plus, bitch. Don't even fucking say
Were
that
you?
shit.
Okay, cool.
Where I?
Hey,
was
more
I?
the merrier.
You were.
I don't know. Were you?
Just weren't very well known. That's the difference. But
but do you remember all the blog posts and all the comments and whatever? We were dealing with like the straight white male terrorists, D&D people. I mean, that's what they were calling us. People were calling us straight white male terrorists in Dungeons and Dragons, in the OSR, in the role-playing game sphere. And we were constantly like fending off these attacks. And that's kind of where the anti-whiteness and the woke like entered in the hobby back in like, I don't know, 2014, 2015. And then by 2016, it just kind of like blew up all over the place. And I realized, where things were going and decided that, yeah, I needed to like switch gears. So given that, I think that Kyle Brink's statement is just clear that Wizards of the Coast just doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to be monetary. It just seems to be their own weird, twisted moral compass. They don't like white people. They don't want Caucasians as like their main audience, as the people that gives them money. They want to diversify. Maybe they're looking at other countries and future demographics and whatever, or maybe they're just high on their own like social justice religion. But it's clear that, yeah, like white people are not welcome at Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro. They don't want us as their audience. They don't want our money. They just want us to go away. And yes, as far as not supporting Wizards of the Coast, amen to that. Yeah, let's not give them any more money, not one more gold piece, as the meme goes. And but obviously we're not going anywhere. We're not just going to quit the hobby. This is our hobby that we built through years and decades of play and money and time and energy and everything we poured into it, our passion. I mean, look at the founders of D&D. Enough said.
Well, Venture, let me say first of all, that was very well. Our commenters on the chat are all unintelligible tonight, and you're incredibly well spoken. I'm in a bizarre world, But however, I will point out though one little comment as to what you said. You said that the Wizards of the Coast doesn't like white people. However, while it is true that there's obviously a lot of extremely woke progressive racists in Wizards of the Coast writing staff, the people that are paid barely above minimum wage to type up crappy adventures. When you look at the executives of Wizards of the Coast, Wizards of the Coast has 20 executives, okay, which is quite a lot for a company that size. And of those 20 executives, all of them are white, every single one, right? There's not a single person of color who is an executive at Wizards of the Coast. And as to what that means, I'm gonna comment on that maybe later, but I think I should let Job see it. I should see if Job has any comments to add about this general topic first.
Not really. I mean, you guys covered it. One thing I did want to add before is that all these memes that I'm put on the slideshow, I stole from D&D memes on Reddit. So
that's good, crediting them, because some of them are quite good actually.
Yeah.
God, come after us, meme lords. We are innocent.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I was saying 20 out of 20 executives of Wizards of the Coast are white. And, that to me makes it very clear what the real situation is, right? Is that they are at the executive level, Wizards of the Coast is completely performative, right? They talk all about the importance of people of color, but apparently they can't find a single person of color that they consider qualified to be, an executive in their organization. Because I mean, if we assume that they really are progressives, and I'm guessing, in fact, that almost all of the people in Wizards of the Coast, all 20 of the executives, are probably, very left-leaning Democratic voters. I very much doubt there's a single MAGA hat-wearing guy among the executives of Wizards of the Coast. So that would mean that they probably believe in their minds that they want to support BLM and diversity and all of this, but they also believe that there's nobody that they can actually put as a executive out of all those people, and that's quite remarkable. So it's either that or they're just actually narcissistic, self-serving liars. Both of those are possible. You can decide for yourself which one it is. But they're, the progressives should actually be as pissed off at Kyle Brink as everybody else is, right? And obviously they're not going to be pissed off because they support white people, but because Wizards of the Coast is being ridiculously hypocritical. We have to presume at the moment that Wizards and Hasbro support what Kyle Brink said, because they haven't fired him or suspended him or even made some kind of a commentary disavowing his comment, right? They haven't said anything. So we have to assume that they agree that white guys like him can't leave the hobby soon enough, right? But that they also don't actually want people of color to be executives. I would say that there would be a common front here between regular gamers and progressives, in that we should all agree that Kyle Brink should get his wish. We should take him at his word, and he should be immediately removed from Wizards of the Coast and replaced by a person of color, ideally one that actually knows something about game design or has at least played D&D. That might be wishing for a bit too much. I don't know, because probably most of the other executives there are also people who don't know anything about game design, and many of them didn't really ever play D&D. So it's a tough situation. But I think it's interesting because there have been a lot of people that have been making statements and kind of trying to explain away what Kyle Brink said. But a lot of the really big kind of progressive names in Twitter have been keeping silent. They haven't said anything about that. They've just not commented. Like, you see, there are some guys, some very obvious shills for Wizards of the Coast, and then some guys that are just like obsessively CRT people that had to come out there and try to excuse what Brink said, saying that we're taking it out of context or something like that. The most common one being that argument that he didn't actually mean that white gamers should be driven away from the D&D hobby. He just meant that there should be people of color in positions of executive authority in Wizards of the Coast. But that doesn't really help, does it? Because it still means that you're arguing that there shouldn't be white people in the part of creating D&D or directing D&D, and so that still seems pretty bad. And it's also ignoring the fact that Wizards of the Coast doesn't have any people of color in those executive positions. So the argument should be, well, maybe there is actually racism going on in Wizards of the Coast executive. When you look at in the current day and age, if you're trying to hire people without considering the color of their skin, you would think that somebody out of those 20 would be a person of color. And of course, they instead argue, no, but it's still diversity because there's women and there's people with special pronouns, which is part of the reason it's kind of dawned on me that a lot of the obsession with that sort of stuff, with pronouns and female representation, is a way that white progressives have to justify continuing to dominate their positions in their jobs instead of making way for non-white people. which is just another sign of just how corrupting the entire concept of woke diversity is, because all of a sudden people are inventing special categories to justify why other people should be taken out. Kyle Brink said people like me. He didn't say me, right? He said people like me can't leave the hobby soon enough. Obviously, he feels that he himself is just too important to quit.
He's one of the saviors.
That's right. He's the white savior, and obviously they can't find a person of color that can do this, because if not, they would have hired them, right? So this is pretty ridiculous. All right, let's look at some of the comments here. Where were we? Ironcaster says the suits in charge thought it was like a video game company. Yes, that's true. Rational Ginger, Watsy, we don't want white people in the hobby anymore. Sales tank. Watsy, why would someone do this? Chris Miller, this is all linked to the leftist beliefs and communist ideologies. We're in a culture war and they're trying to destroy Western civilization. They're attacking our hobbies, our myths, and our heroes. Yes, that's absolutely true. It's also the case that I think Kyle Brinks is kind of a moron, and and that Wizards of the Coast actually does have some irony issues in terms of their supposed diversity, right? Mm-hmm. Malachi says Brink also said that Crawford is straight now. Yeah, that's that's an interesting topic in and of itself. Sadwings Raging says Wizards of the Coast should hire pundit and live stream him walking into the offices. I'd have to get a kitchen sink or something. I don't know.
Oh my God, great.
Like a bullwhip.
Rational Ginger says, woke virtue signaling, angering your existing customer base to pander to someone who will never buy your products and will hate you because you didn't do enough. Yeah, that seems to still be their standard policy. A lot of people talk about what they're eating or drinking, presumably for the for the game. Venger Satanis says diversity, equity, and inclusion, the trifecta of grift. Let's see what else. People talking about something called Sword World. I don't know what that is. Judd Goswick says, is Venture going to do a halftime dance in devil getup? This seems to be the fad of late. Well, Venture, were you unprepared for that question?
Yeah, I could go into detail about the current year Satanism that's happening all around us and in society, our culture. I'll be very brief though. What I believe, or what I identify as, is night and day from what's currently portrayed. And it makes me want to distance myself because obviously I don't want to be lumped in with, Sam Smith and whatever the hard left is going for. And the whole abortion thing, and it just seems like the left is ideologically siding with Satanism and things like that. And yeah, whatever I believe is not a part of that. So sometimes I feel conflicted, especially if I'm watching like Michael Knowles or something like that, because he's a Catholic and he talks about Catholicism, Christianity a lot, and the evils of Satanism and things like that. And you can see where he's drawing from, culturally, from the Grammys to that golden statue in New York, and all these things. So yeah, I'm kind of I'm kind of distancing myself from the whole being out as a Satanist, because I don't want to be lumped in with those people.
All right. Well, there we go. Now, there's, I don't know if there's going to be like a bunch of satanic gamers that are going to say, Venture Satanist says we don't want Satanists anymore. It's your own Kyle Brinkman there, Venture. You're going to get all the Satanist gamers mad at you.
I mean, if they're true Satanists, then this is going to make them even more mad. If they're true Satanists, they wouldn't be for, murdering babies and free healthcare and universal basic income and, siding with every single corporation in America and the welfare state and, diversity and inclusion and equity. Real Satanism is about pulling yourself up with your bootstraps and rugged individualism and thinking for yourself and not taking shit from anybody. And all these posers, to me, they're not real Satanists. So if you're a real Satanist, give me some horns. But all those other guys can fuck off.
All right. Well, Venture is taking the no true Satanist position here in terms of explaining this. I think we got a super chat.
Yep. Yeah, from Chris Miller for $10. Thank you very much, Chris. It says, we need to decentralize the power the left has over our media and entertainment. We need to support our own alternatives, i.e. printers, digital sales hubs, conventions, magazines, etc. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with that from the point of view of the hobby, that it's the more that we have alternatives, the better. But we also can't just surrender the mainstream either, right? Like we either, when it comes to what the mainstream is, we either have to find a way to retake it, or we have to run it into the ground. One of the two, And so that's why I'm strongly suggesting to everyone that we should, put a lot of pressure on Wizards that, Wizards is racist. They don't have a single person of color as an executive, right? So, there's whatever comes out of that argument ends up being good, right? Because if they end up, firing a bunch of their executives, then that's a good result for starters, right? Especially if starting with, Chris Brink, right? But if beyond that they hire people that are competent, well, okay, great. I don't think that's the most likely scenario. More likely they'll hire a bunch of people that are specifically fitting diversity categories and without regarding their quality or their talent, and if that happens, that'll keep running Wizards of the Coast into the ground, and that's good. So whatever results, it's just popcorn eating time, So get on it, keep pressuring Wizards of the Coast about the Kyle Brink thing, and not just because, it's true, it's absolutely true that there's a racist anti-white sentiment in what Kyle Brink said, right? And in Wizards of the Coast apparently endorsing Kyle Brink by his silence. But there's also a very good opportunity here to make an argument saying, well, yes, he should be fired, and go ahead, please get a person of color, put a person of color in there. Sure, why not? And then whatever they do, it's still going to come out better off for us, because either Wizards will get better from it or they'll get worse from it, and whichever of the two happens, we want to either accelerate their collapse or we want to actually change them institutionally, one or the other. So yeah, that's my point of view on that. Okay, so I have one more thing to point out, which is that, as I said, there are a lot of the people who are like the best kind of known wokest people, a lot of the story gamer crowd heroes, and some of the traditional industry heroes that are not rushing to protect Wizards of the Coast on this. They've been notoriously silent. And the reason for that is partly, I think, because obviously a lot of these people don't like Wizards of the Coast anymore, but also because they realize that Wizards of the Coast, just like the first time when they came out with the OGL 1.2 and said, "Oh, we're doing this to stop hateful content," and they're like, "No, you're not. You're not doing it for that reason," And so they can see that this is all just hypocrisy. But there are several accounts that are for reasons either of hoping to curry favor with Wizards or just because there's critical race theory indoctrination is so strong that feel like they have to jump in and claim that anyone who doesn't agree with Kyle Brink is a white supremacist or stuff like this, or that he was taken out of context. And the funny thing is they try to excuse this, right? Because we've got the quote there, right? We know what it is. And it looks really bad. And so the funny part is that any excuse that they make always comes out really like it actually doesn't help, right? It still looks really bad. So when they say, well, he was just talking about the directorate of Wizards of the Coast, that still looks really bad because he's still saying we don't want white people working at Wizards of the Coast. We want to have a double standard. We want to have a race-based segregation, And when he says, no, well, they don't really want to kick anyone out. They just want people to naturally go away. That doesn't make it better either. There's still fundamentally a racist sentiment to it. They don't have any argument that they've made that I've seen on social media that doesn't still make Brink look like an idiot, and that doesn't still make them and Brink and Wizards look racist. Yeah. So it's just the level of fail that they have at trying to defend this guy.
So Draco Pole made a comment to me. He says, Venture Satanist says his kind of people can't leave the hobby fast enough. LOL. Meaning the Satanists. And sort of, yeah. I just thought it was funny.
Very good. So Terranchul says the masks are off and everyone on all sides can see what they are now. Yeah, I think that's true to a degree. And I think that that's very interesting because I think that if this had been, if Brink had said something like this, say 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, everybody would have rushed to defend him. Like all of the leftists would have rushed to defend him because they were all in with the alliance with corporations. And now I think that wokest corporate alliance that had been formed is fraying a little bit on both sides because the corporations are realizing that wokeism is bankrupting them, and the wokists are realizing that the corporations are only using them. So it's I think it's a sign that there's a bit of struggle going on there. Escape Velo says the faster Wizards of the Coast goes bankrupt, the better. Well, because they're part of Hasbro, it doesn't seem likely that they'll actually go bankrupt. But what can certainly happen is that if the new people that were brought in to run Wizards of the Coast came in on the promise that, on the claim, first of all, that D&D is under monetized and that they're going to monetize it. Cynthia Williams said that Dungeons and Dragons, she promises that within I forget, she said 1 year or 2 years, it's going to be a $1 billion product for Hasbro. And to do that means she would have to multiply the current profitability by 8 times, because I think right now it's 140 million or something like that is what D&D made last year. I might not have the exact figure right, but it's around there, right? So it would have to be a huge jump in profitability, right? And I think that if they fail to do this, then Hasbro is going to look very strongly again at either shutting down D&D or outright splitting away from Wizards of the Coast, right? Like selling Wizards or making it an independent company, And then, of course, they might go bankrupt. I don't know. Magic the Gathering is still a very, very big moneymaker, right? It is a $1 billion product. So Wizards will always have Magic, I guess, or at least until the Magic players get really sick of it.
I have no idea why. It's such a meh kind of game.
Yeah, I've never liked it, but there are the people who like it fucking love it. So,
yeah. Well, should we move on?
All right. Should we get to the shilling section?
Yeah, I guess so. Probably a good idea. Oh, though, you know what? I just read too that there's going to be a D&D, that freaking D&D movie. There's going to be some new trailer during the Super Bowl. So if anyone in the chat has seen it already, let us know how it was.
Well, there's a lot of
super chat too.
Oh shit, we got a super chat before we chill.
Over Brent's comments.
We got a super chat, guys.
Yeah.
You want to read it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Emery Calame, $10.
Yeah.
Longtime viewer. Thanks, Emery. I saw Wasp in 1984. Blackie Lawless pretended to whip and stab topless nuns and cut raw meat on his saw blade codpiece and threw it to the audience. 2023 Grammys, Satan bait is weak sauce. Yes, I agree.
Because it's all gender fluid, trannies and whatever. You know, it's not.
I like
masculine Satanism. It's feminist Satanism, which is backwards, as Jordan Peterson would probably say. So it's got the complete wrong energy, which is why it's a fail.
Okay, I like, first of all, that Emery Calame felt so strongly about this that he spent $10 to make it a super chat.
He's right, damn it. He's right.
And second, I like the idea that Jordan Peterson would be saying, well, you know, I don't like Satanism, but if you're going to have Satanism, then it should, have a certain hierarchy to it, and it should reflect masculine values or something like that.
Well, it needs to have a certain order, because if you have a disordered religion like Satanism or any religion, that disorder is going to ruin it, and it's going to, your values are going to be misaligned, and it's just going to fall apart and be worthless. It makes sense to me.
Speaking as a historian, I'm pretty sure all Satanism throughout history has been basically performative. If you want to talk about something that's like actual Satanism, well, look at in the modern day, you've got the cult of the Dark Mother Gaia and the cult of Moloch, the baby sacrificer, and the cult of Baal, the gold idol. All of those exist in our modern society, but none of the people doing those things calls themselves Satanists, but they're much more authentically satanic than the Church of Satan or the Temple of Set or that guy in the Grammys.
That's a longer discussion. It depends on what you mean by Satanism. It depends on who's saying it. Is the Christian church saying it? Are the people themselves saying it? Is someone saying it from 200 years in the future, looking at the past and being like, oh, those were Satanists? It's in the eye of the beholder. It just depends on your point of view and who's making the statement, I feel. But anyway, that's...
I know this is a weird tidbit, but did you guys ever see that movie Dungeon Master with, Richard Mole from Night Court?
Every single week I watch that movie. You know
awesome.
that.
It's hilarious. But Wasp is in that movie.
He is, yeah.
Anyway, more of a Gwar guy, but I've never been a big fan of Wasp, but I love them in Dungeon Master.
The OSR Ed George says it's poser Satanism. Calvin Oney says Magic the Gathering players are mostly pissed at WotC. Well, yeah, that's true. Magic the Gathering did take a hit recently because of, I don't know, something about they were making too many cards or something. I don't know. I don't really follow what the MTG news is, unless you're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. But not Magic the Gathering. Terrential says, "You mean Hammer Horror has been lying to me about Satanism all these years?"
Maybe. Maybe not.
Sad Wings Raging says, "Make Mithraism great again." Chris Miller says, "I never liked WotC ever since they first purchased TSR. Now they're dead to me." Saturnine says, "Well, what Venger is saying is that in occult science, Satan is a reactive and projective masculine energy." Well, sort of, because, there was always, I don't want to get into a big rant on occultism here, but there was always this aspect of Satanism, like witch cults obviously were I'm not talking about modern Wicca, but I'm talking about these supposed witch cults that may or may not have existed anytime between the Middle Ages to like the early 20th century, were women that worshipped Satan. Though there you could still say it was a masculine, but there was also the whole concept of stuff like Baphomet, and Satan is often depicted in these kind of hermaphroditic forms, right? Because it's also the aspect of Satan as being tied to sexual degeneracy, so to say, and lust, and it's all, Satanism is about a corruption of what is the norm, right? So that's always been an important part about it.
All right, you're driving everyone's wallets up with this. Nikes. We got another super chat from Escape Velo for $2. Thank you very much, Escape Velo. I'm more of a Grateful Dead guy. All right. I've been listening to the Grateful Dead a little bit recently. I've never really been into them, but I don't know. How about you guys?
They were good live performers.
I've never cared for that type of music.
Yeah.
So.
You saw them live, Pundit?
I did quite late in their careers, yeah, but they were.
Wait, did you follow the Dead?
When Garcia was still alive? No, not. I didn't. I wasn't touring around with them or anything. No, I wasn't a Deadhead exactly, but
Pundits are
they were very good live performers.
I remember the first time I saw like artwork or maybe like an album cover or something of the Grateful Dead. I was like, oh, cool! Like these psychedelic colors and skeletons. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I was expecting like Black Sabbath, but maybe like something more
stoner music.
Yeah, like more of a San Francisco type of Black Sabbath. And then I heard it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is like the anti whatever was in my imagination when I first saw that stuff. And I was just like, oh, this is awful. No, like Michael Scott. God, no.
I'm more of a Ramones type of guy than a Grateful Dead type of guy, but there we are.
Yeah, me too.
I'd rather listen to rock. And
should we move on?
Yes,
not even a rock
let's
fan.
jump to the shills.
Yes.
All
right.
Jumping.
You're up, Pundit. I put your thing up there.
All right, great. So I finally have something new to shill after quite a while here. And what I've got to show you is the Gonzo Fantasy Companion. It is finally out. This is the second, it's kind of the sequel to the World of the Last Sun, but whereas the World of the Last Sun is the setting book, the Gonzo Fantasy Companion, all it's full of is mechanics and random stuff and generators and all kinds of things that you can clock into any OSR game. And it's got all sorts of stuff that you can use to make your game weirder, basically. So you have mechanics for creating mutant humans, mechanics for creating intelligent animals. You have all kinds of monsters and weird magic items and some high-tech sort of, Gonzo fantasy items. You have the robot generator. You have humanoid weird race generators. You have generators for ancient underground complexes, for alternate material planes, for the kitchen sink. You have stuff on like using high tech materials in your fantasy game, like weapons and things like that, and all sorts of stuff that you can use. Pick and choose and plug and play them into whatever OSR game you're running. Though obviously, if you're running something like DCC or specifically the World of the Last Sun, it's going to be extremely useful to you. It is 232 pages. The soft cover is $29.95. There's also a hard cover for $39.95. The PDF is $12.95, and you can get it on Drive-Thru RPG from Spectre Press. So be sure to check it out, because it's just absolutely full of stuff that you're going to be able to use, psychic powers and magical pipe tobacco and everything on even including the kitchen sink. So be sure to check it out. If you're a Chalt fan, you're probably going to be able to use tons of stuff from this in your Chalt game, and vice versa. So that's the main thing for me. But check out my other stuff too. I know that there's more stuff for Sword and Caravan that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Check out Lion and Dragon as always. And I know I saw some people were talking about how they're quitting Wizards forever and they're going to buy Pathfinder and Starfinder, right? And I have to tell people that Paizo is every bit as woke, if not more, than Wizards. And so instead of that, check out stuff like Lion and Dragon or Star Adventurer, right? Which is a great space opera OSR game that is only $9.99. So yeah, check all that stuff out and check out my channel if you haven't already. And I guess that's everything for me. Who's next?
It is.
It's okay. Okay. I actually saw your new release on social media. I don't know if you posted something or someone else posted something about it. And the cover image is awesome. That immediately caught my eye.
And thanks Spectre Press for that one.
Okay, thank you, Spectre Press. You did a good job. And I read the description. I'm like, okay, now that's something that I feel like I should own, because that's something that's definitely within my wheelhouse. That's definitely usable, gameable content that I could get, a lot of value out of. And
thank you very much.
I don't really have a need for like authentic medieval anything, because that's just not my jam.
Yeah, I get it.
A lot of people love that, and that's cool, but that's not me. But the Gonzo thing is like, I'm gonna get that because that does sound cool, and it does sound like it would be perfect for Chalt and your World of the Last Sun. So that's cool. Let's see, for me, the Kickstarter, the Advanced Game Mastering Kickstarter, just ended yesterday morning. So it's probably gonna be a couple months before that's out on Drive-Thru. But in the meantime, I started a web comic with Jay Tanaka on Twitter. I don't know if a lot of people are probably maybe friends with him or have interacted with him. He's a really good artist.
Isn't it Joe?
I don't know. Is that what
you called him Jay?
Maybe.
Pretty sure it's Joe.
What's that?
Pretty sure his name is Joe.
Okay. Maybe he's from Spain and he's like Tanaka OSR.
I don't see countries.
Twitter handle. Anyway, so he and I are developing a webcomic, and we've got the first issue. It's really just like one big page with like several panels. It's up on my blog, so go to Venture's Old School Gaming blog, and then you can see the first issue. It's gonna be like a monthly thing. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it because I'm paying him, and I'm doing all like the writing for free because it's my thing. It's because it's based on Chalt, and I'm gonna find a way to, I don't know, either monetize it or just find a way to pay for it. And I want to, every month is gonna be like a new issue, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna have like these two characters, Sans
Oh my god!
and Grok.
I just looked up. This guy's name is Jay. I'm so blind. I thought it said Joe for like months. I've been like following this guy for months, and now I thought his name was Joe.
Well, the whole time I was talking to him, I was like, it's possible this is the chick, but I don't care. I mean, I don't care if this was like a black lesbian wheelchair-bound person with autism. I mean, I don't care what people's immutable characteristics are, as long as they're cool and like the things I like and not a total jerk. You know, I embrace them.
Anyway, I just want to apologize to Jay for calling him or her Joe.
Yeah, you should apologize.
Yeah.
So anyway, go to my blog. Check out the first issue. It's a lot of fun. There'll be another one next month. And the Chalt Game Jam is also wrapping up February 14th. Valentine's Day is like the last day of it. Although if people want an extension, it's fine. Just if you want another week or two, whatever. And then I'm going to do a roundup of all the people that participated in the Game Jam, like the Red Room and Patty's Parlor and Tom from Facebook. So yeah, I'm gonna put all of them on blast and just do a whole blog post on everybody that participated, so you can see their products and where to get them. And that's it.
All right. So we've got a super chat just before we go to Job here. I don't know if you saw that, Job, or if you want me to read it.
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, we got another $5 from Chris Miller.
Chris Miller gave another $5, said, I have to go, but I can't wait to watch the rest of this later tomorrow. Remember, buy from companies who aren't racist and don't hate you. Good. Thank you for that, Chris. Also, Charles Smith just said, Gonzo Companion has negated Wallet's AC. Excellent. And the Pronto says, magical pipe tobacco. I'm in. Terrential says, I have to be cautious about my money at the moment, but God, I want to buy stuff from you guys. Thank you for that. We appreciate the sentiment, and I hope that when you've got a little more stability, you'll pick up some of our stuff. All right. I guess you can. Oh, Chris Miller also says, coming soon, Mad Scribe Magazine. I thought I should mention this. I'm not, well, I'm sort of involved in this in that I'm going to write a few articles in it, but Chris Miller, Mad Scribe Games, is going to be making, I think, a monthly gaming magazine that he's going to come out with. That's going to have a lot of different articles and stuff written by different people, and gaming material and all sorts of stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that too. It'll be pretty good. I know I'll have an article in the first issue that will feature a Silk Road apothecary. So it's going to be full of stuff on authentic herbs and cures and poisons and magical poisons of the Silk Road. So for people who are fans of Sword and Caravan, they'll probably want to buy the first issue of Mad Scribe magazine just for that. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Job.
All right. Sorry, Jay Tanaka. God, that was so bad.
He will hunt you down from his Spaniard villa and stab you in the blood with his
I
knife.
liked watching his stuff on Twitter. I was like, man, I want to work with this dude sometime. And now I'm just like totally flubbing his name. Okay. All right. So the only thing I'm showing this week, I'm going to a game conference next weekend in sunny Sarasota, Florida, at the Ringling School of Art or something. So the link's up there. So it's the Friday through Sunday, February 17th to the 19th. It's really cheap. If you wanna run games, it's like $20 for the whole weekend. If you just want to play games, it's $5. It's a really tiny little con. But if you're in the Florida Freedom Zone, then maybe that's something that you might be interested in. All right. And I'm done.
Okay.
And so am I. I gotta go.
Talk to you later, man.
Guys.
Take care.
Yes. Thanks everybody for watching. Venture out. All right.
See you later.
Get to the next one.
Hey, man.
All right. So, kind of, maybe we should have done this the other way around, because maybe Benjer was the one who had the idea of talking about Valentine's Day, but now he's gone.
Yeah.
And
I
I mean,
didn't have the heart to tell him. I thought that was just a ridiculous idea.
I'm pretty sure it was going to be an excuse for him to talk about, his porn stuff in RPGs or whatever. Like, I've got all these. He's part of that crew that like having overt sexual RPG play. Him and Grim Jim. I've never quite understood that myself. Well, do you have anything you want to say about Valentine's Day gaming or something like that? No. I think the first thing to say is probably, unless your significant other is a gamer and really, really into gaming, you probably shouldn't game on Valentine's Day. Just a general rule. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would say is, oh shit, Valentine's Day is 2 days away. You better figure out something now if you forgot about it.
That's also true. Yeah, because that does happen, I guess.
It's so hard to do anything now. It's like you want to get a reservation for Valentine's Day, you got to call like a month in advance. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's always been a scam.
This vax can't start killing the masses fast enough, man.
Yeah. The problem is that it's a scam that is meant that manages to oblige half the population to have to entertain the other half.
Yeah.
The USR Edgelord says, I choose Chalt. That's excellent. Well done, sir. Well done. Well, I don't know. I guess you could talk about romantic elements in RPGs and like, so in my games, I never have like sex scenes or something like that. I cannot grasp why anyone would want to, like, maybe if someone's, I don't know, got a party full of porn stars like Grim Jim does, then okay, right? Or like Zach S used to have, or whatever. But if you're like me and you're sitting around with mostly, men in the 25 to 55 age range, and they're, none of them are, they're not even exactly great specimens or anything like that. You really don't want to see two of them playing out some kind of romantic, entanglement or something, right? But obviously,
are you saying you make them LARP it at the table, or?
No, but I'm saying I wouldn't want to see them LARPing it at the table, right? But there's some, in some cases it sounds like there's some of these games seem to want to go into detail with sex scenes, and with me, when those, like if the party is going to the tavern and there are ladies of the night there or something, and they want to say, oh well, yeah, I'm gonna spend the night with with a whore, then I'm like, okay, yeah, you go and you spend the night with a whore, and that's it, right? And maybe if they got really drunk, then something might have happen in the morning when they wake up and realize they've been robbed or something like that, right? But really, the thing I do have in some of my games, depends on the type of game it is that there can be romance in the games, right? So if there's if there's a context in the setting, especially, where that makes sense. So if you're playing a game of, say, Lion and Dragon, and you're playing it in a royal court, or you're doing something kind of Arthurian that incorporates the elements of chivalric romance, then there can be that stuff, right? Or I ran a Legion of Superheroes campaign for 7 years, and if you've ever read that comic, the Legion characters, they start out as teenagers. By the end of the series, they're adults, but they have all kinds of relationships with each other and with non-Legion characters. And so if you're going to reflect that authentically, you have to present that sort of thing, right? And then even in standard fantasy games, one of the things I think that's really underused in fantasy games, and so you see, for example, in both Arrows of Indra and Lion and Dragon, I incorporate that part of character creation can be determining the family that your character has, right? Because in real pre-industrial societies, your family was really, really important, so it doesn't mean that every campaign has to do that. It can be a bunch of guys that are just, lonely mercenaries or something. But if you have, family relationships, and especially if you're playing long-term campaigns where theoretically you might have characters get married and have kids and stuff like that. Even in my DCC campaign, there's a goddamn cat boy goes around usually failing to romance anybody until he finally married a minotauress, and now his character has these monstrosities for kids that are like a quarter cat, a quarter cow, and half human. So that sort of stuff is fine as far as I see, but I just don't. I also don't see the point of going too deep into even in like romance subplots. The problem with that too is that it's usually one character at a time that's got that going on, and so you want to balance out how much attention you give to that versus the party as a whole. Anyways, I guess that's the closest thing I can say to whatever Venture had in mind for this topic. I don't know if you have anything to add there, Joe.
No, I mean, I picked up a lot of hookers in some of your games, but it always, was I just spent the gold on it, or the dirhams, or whatever the hell our money was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or
but
in the plans.
I did write a erotic storytelling game, but it was kind of more of a joke than anything real. So,
published?
What's that?
Has that been published?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was like I printed it. If you go to fanficgame.com, you can download it for free. You print it out and you staple it in half, and it's the rules. They got problems. There's like one glaring issue with scoring, but I just never cared to fix it. Anyway.
So comments from the peanut gallery here. Judd Gossick says DC simplified this by making all their superheroes pansexual polygamists. Yeah, well, that's kind of true. They did do that eventually. Sadman Raging says, Catboy. Well, if you want to know what goes on in my DCC campaign, you need to check out Bill the Elf's channel, where we have audios of all of our games. It's very, very gonzo. It's set in the world of the Last Sun, obviously. And yes, one of the long-running successful characters of the campaign is this guy named Catboy. He was because he was from a race of humanoid cat people that lived in the sun. And he's very much the comic relief of the party. Dracopol says, in Chalt, even the STDs have tentacles for a better grip. Otherwise, our edgelord says, I remember that netbook about getting venereal diseases. I do not remember that netbook, but I wouldn't be surprised if it exists. Oh, my goodness. All right. So any other comments from the peanut gallery? Anything else you guys want to talk about tonight before we wrap up? If you got some hot news going on about, if you saw the new D&D trailer, or if there's anything else that's been happening in the last few hours in the hobby that I'm not aware of, then feel free to share right now. Yeah. The netbook of carnal knowledge. Okay. This was not a good topic, Joe. Really, we shouldn't have listened to that, Andrew.
No. I guess I should have just started with that. I was struggling to find anything to say about it.
John Fraser says, I'm working on a new character class called Holy Crusader, modeled after Knights Templar. Well, that's a very interesting idea. And I'm currently working. It's still going to be a very long time, I think, before it sees print, but I'm currently working on Baptism of Fire, which is going to be a medieval authentic game set in the very early period of the Polish kingdom when they were fighting to Christianize Poland. And one of the character classes there is going to be the Holy Warrior. So, yeah, maybe they'll be similar. Ironcaster says, place your bets. How long before WotC decides to cause another controversy? Well, I mean, based on recent statistics, probably this week. Yeah, like, right. It looks like they put their foot in their mouth every single week now. So
yeah,
it might be
before the Kyle thing, I would have been like, no, there's no way they would screw up again. You know, for at least another 6 months to a year, and then Kyle brain dropped.
I did a video in my channel that was I did it on the 6th of February, right? Mm-hmm. Early in the day, where I said, has Wizards given up on woke D&D? You can still watch it. I've got it there. And I had noted that in the latest product that Wizards is promoting, which is this heist book that they're trying to tie into the movie, unlike every other book that they've been promoting on social media, they weren't saying anything woke about it. They were just like, oh yeah, it has 11 adventures. It's like, you know, in the style of heist movies. It's, you know, got all the classic sort of stuff, like the, you know, making your team and complications and all that stuff. Sounds really stupid, frankly, but they weren't saying anything about, oh yeah, and it has, you know, the first lesbian transgendered cleric, you know, something like that in the game, you know, like that in every other product. When they're promoting it, they always went out of their way, right? Like you know, in the one about the carnival, they were saying that Wild Beyond the Witchlight, that was it. In Wild Beyond the Witchlight, they're saying, oh yeah, this campaign punishes traditional gamers who want to solve things by fighting, right? And in Strixhaven, they were like, yeah, this isn't about adventures. This is about your life in college and going to prom and how your romances are a hot mess, you know, speaking of Valentine's Day, and all stuff like that. And then in this one, they're not doing any of that. They're like, look at the cool thief tools that you'll get, right? Like, so it seemed to me, I thought, and maybe this is still possibly completely true, that Wizards ordered all of its employees and its official accounts to not write anything woke on social media, because they've been terribly silent about wokeism on social media from the moment of their, you know, going completely 180 on their new OGL. From that point onwards, they've been really, really quiet about it. So I suspect that people have been told you don't do woke shit, right? And then Kyle Brink goes and he says the ultimate woke shit, right? We want white people out of the hobby, you know. So it's I'm wondering whether that was, you know, because some people are saying, oh, that was intentional. I don't think it was intentional. I think that was his Michael Scott moment, you know, like, and he was just a complete moron, and he said something that was not planned. And I'm betting there are some executives in Hasbro that are tearing out their hair about this because they realize what a mess it is, you know.
Yeah.
So, Jacopol says, the next WotC scandal, they declare that all magical scrolls in D&D, in one D&D, must be written in menstrual blood to be magical and to tie into art museums and such. Sadwin's Raging asked me, El Cid when RPG Pundit? I don't know, maybe someday I might do a medieval authentic book on the Reconquista or stuff like that, you know. That would be interesting. But I'm doing Poland right now, and probably the next, I don't know if it'll be the next book after Baptism of Fire, but the next medieval authentic book that I'll do is probably going to be about the anarchy. Judd Goswick says, features the third blind Ruritanian trans cat rogue in D&D history. Guillaume Servio goes, yes, the Inquisition when... Well, the Inquisition started after the Reconquista, really, but the Reconquista was almost totally done by the time the Inquisition came around. Sadwing's Raging says, I bet the people who put money into the D&D movie are ready to put hits on WotC. Yeah, well, it doesn't look good for them. It really doesn't. And the thing is, again, we don't know how many of the investors actually know about this, because it's been quite prominent in like nerd news, but it has not gotten anywhere in mainstream news as far as I can see. Like I didn't see someone at CNN doing something about this, or even like I don't know, in Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire or anything like that, right? Like or the Rebel News, not even in the like mainstream conservative news has it appeared, and that's kind of disappointing, I think, because it would be good if they saw about this and commented on it, because I mean they talk about the M&M scandal, so like you think they could do this about Hasbro, right? Like Hasbro is not a small target for these people. God damn it! We need Project Veritas to get somebody in at Wizards of the Coast. Edsword says the financial channels did, though, pundit. Did they? Where? I didn't see anything.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to Google.
Sorry, it's almost the OGL thing, but I didn't see anything about this new thing with Kyle Brink and the comment on white people leaving the hobby. That's the thing I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, they didn't mention that in the thing.
Yeah. No, you're right. The financial channels did see it, and that's because investors were made aware of it, and part of that was thanks to a certain video I made. So. Sadwig's Rage says Arch Warhammer had a bit of fun. I don't know who Arch Warhammer is. Patty's Parlor says without O'Keefe there is no Project Veritas. Yes, but has something happened to James O'Keefe that I don't know about?
Oh, you didn't hear about this, man? Yeah, his board ousted him. He's like on
really?
paid leave. Yeah. And they let some of the info out, and it was kind of like he was a pain in the ass. It said like he ate a pregnant woman's sandwich. It's like, what the fuck? It's a bunch of bullshit, man. Reddit. Yeah, there is no Project Veritas without James O'Keefe. That's for sure. I don't know what the hell those people think they're doing, but Project Veritas.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been a scandal for the last 3 or 4 days. Yeah. Now I'm pissed. I just gave him another $100. I had known, I kept my money. Got a bottle of scotch.
Well, that's a huge disappointment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's horrible. Oh shit, I gotta refresh the chat.
That's really, yeah. I mean, nobody has been as effective as Project Veritas. Nobody. It's just, God damn it. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what he does next, because I don't think we've heard the last of James O'Keefe.
Yeah, it's just crazy. He had his like biggest video of all, Project Veritas' biggest video of all time with that latest Pfizer thing, and then all of a sudden they're ripping him out. Like, makes no sense. Obviously,
that's ridiculous.
Somehow Pfizer's got their hands in someone's pocket.
Yeah.
Board.
He's taking bribes there from Pfizer. Yeah. It's remarkable. What a mess.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we should wrap
too
this
bad.
Up.
That's
the stinker of a Valentine's episode.
Yeah. On that terrible disappointment, I guess that's about it for us today. All right. So our next episode is going to be on the 12th of March, I believe. Is that right? This is what, the 12th of February?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, in 4 weeks.
Is it?
12th of March. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll still be here. I'll be here.
Where would you be otherwise?
The 12th of March? Are you sure?
Well, what is it today? Today's the 12th of February, right? So 4 weeks from now, 19, 26, 5, 12, yeah.
What the heck? I don't know if I'm going to be here, man.
What? Okay, I'm not going to ask you in public what you're doing, but well, if it's not, we'll reschedule it. But just let us know. We'll let you know in the audience.
Yeah.
Not to worry.
All right, we'll shoot for the 12th. I hope we can do it.
Okay, well, if not, we can always reschedule. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right. Thanks, everyone, for showing up, and happy Superb Owl.
But Pundit, Watsy could have at least 2 controversies before then. All right, well, yeah, maybe so, but that's why you got to check my channel. Subscribe to the RPG Pundits channel. All right, guys, thank you for everything. Currently smoking, Ben Wade Rhodesian, plus our gentle Latakia.
Here, 1 sec. In stream.